Alright, so when the rulers of the Imperium want somebody dead, and I mean really dead, geopolitically inconvenient dead, the galaxy expects a show. We picture the Vindicare assassin lying dead still for 3 weeks just to land one perfect headshot. We picture the Eversor, basically a screaming chemical warhead in a trench coat, ripping through a fortress wall like it's wet cardboard. The Imperium spent 10,000 years building up this whole mythology of murder, and honestly, it works. Everybody's out here checking rooftops for a guy with a very big gun. But that's the loud version. That's the trailer. The actual scariest part of the Officio Assassinorum isn't the guy who kicks your door in. It's the one who never shows up at all. The one who just logs in, hits a few keys, and lets the galaxy's own crushing, soul-numbing bureaucracy do the killing for him. So today, we're skipping the guys with the swords. We're talking about the Vanus and Venenum temples, the two most disrespectful, most quietly terrifying assassination programs in the entire Imperium. And by the end of this, I want you to walk away agreeing that the deadliest weapon in the 41st millennium isn't a sniper rifle, it's admin access. Here's the thing you need to understand about the Imperium of Man before any of this makes sense. It's not really a military empire first. It's a bureaucracy that happens to also have an army. Every single thing that happens, from deploying a Space Marine chapter to shipping a bag of grain to some starving hive world, runs through trillions of overlapping spreadsheets, moldy data vaults, and burnt-out scribes who haven't seen sunlight in decades. The whole civilization runs on infrastructure that's basically 10,000 years old and being held together with duct tape and prayer. The Vindicare Temple looks at a warlord and calculates wind speed for the shot. The Vanus Temple looks at that exact same warlord and calculates how to remotely shut off his life support while he's taking a nap. Vanus operatives don't look like action heroes. No bulging muscles, no skin-tight combat suits. They're basically the most terrifyingly competent IT department in the galaxy. Their weapons are cogitators. Think ancient space computers, probability engines, and total, unrestricted access to the Imperium's data grid. If the Eversor is a nuke, the Vanus operative is a slow, targeted computer virus with a body count. Their whole philosophy is, why risk a trained operative in a knife fight when you can just edit a shipping manifest and let a tyrannid swarm do your job for you? Picture this. A corrupt planetary governor's holed up in an armored, void-shielded palace, guarded by millions of loyal troops, totally convinced nobody could ever physically reach him. And he's right, nobody has to. A Vanus operative sitting 3 star systems away just quietly logs into the supply grid, doesn't trip a single alarm, and changes 1 decimal point on the palace's air filtration schedule. Reroutes a shipment of antitoxin meds while he's at it. 3 weeks later, the governor's dead from what looks exactly like a tragic, totally natural asphyxiation event. There's actually recorded is generous, but let's say a reconstructed transcript circulating among Officio insiders of a Vanus operative briefing a junior trainee on exactly how casual this all is. Senior Vanus, operative. Okay, targets Governor Halvain. Void-shielded palace, 40,000 guards, personal chapel with an actual saint's relic in it. Trainee. So, insertion via the ventilation shafts, or do we compromise a guard first? Senior operative. Neither. Pull up his medical requisition form. Trainee. His what? Senior operative. His antitoxin shipment. Change the delivery date by 9 days. Trainee. That's it? That's the whole plan? Senior operative. That's the whole plan. Write it up as a logistics delay. Nobody audits logistics delays. Go home, get some sleep. He'll be dead by the 23rd. Trainee. This feels like it should be harder. Senior operative. Everyone says that their first year. What makes this genuinely disturbing is there's no crime scene. None. When a Callidus assassin shows up and does the whole shape-shifting murder thing, everyone knows the Imperium was just there. Security tightens, paranoia spikes, it's a whole thing. But when the Vanus strikes, the death just looks like a run of astonishingly bad luck. An armored convoy's engines all fail at once, conveniently right as it crosses a bridge over molten lava. A bodyguard suddenly receives a perfectly forged data slate proving his boss was about to have his whole family executed. The Vanus doesn't kill people. They curate a really convincing coincidence. And this wrecks the enemies of the Imperium on a philosophical level, because they're prepared for the wrong war. Chaos Lords build gigantic fortresses with overlapping fields of fire, bracing for a glorious siege against angels of the Emperor. A Chaos Lord might spend literal centuries assembling a fleet for a big apocalyptic crusade, only to discover, launch day, that a Venus operative quietly swapped his fleet's navigation coordinates for the address of a sleeping Necron tomb world. The entire grimdark opera just gets cancelled by what's functionally a clerical error. That's the real punchline of the Venus Temple. In a galaxy full of gods swinging flaming swords that split mountains, the actual power brokers are the quiet guys messing with the flow of information. You can build the thickest adamantium walls in the universe. Surround yourself with an army of genetically perfect warriors. Doesn't matter one bit if some quiet guy in the shadows remote deactivates your gravity boots while you're standing next to an open airlock. Real godhood isn't about being all-powerful. It's just having the admin password. If the Venus is the Imperium's digital cancer, the Venenum Temple is its biological version. Basically a molecular insult to the entire concept of honorable warfare. The 41st Millennium loves volume. Chainswords roaring, bolters going off, titans trading plasma fire bright enough to turn night into day. The Venenum Temple rejects literally all of that. They're masters of toxin and alchemy, and their whole belief system is, don't fight the target, just quietly rewrite the chemistry of their world until existing stops being viable for them. And their science is genuinely unnerving for an empire that mostly runs on superstition and blunt force trauma. We're not talking crude cyanide here. Venenum alchemists build hyper-specific, genetically targeted molecular payloads, compounds that are completely harmless to 99% of a planet's population, but the second someone with one specific mutated gene sequence touches it, boom, catastrophic cellular collapse, localized entirely to them. They can fill a crowded ballroom with gas that kills exactly one guest, while everyone else just gets mildly confused about why the host suddenly dropped dead mid-toast. But the real dark comedy isn't the poison itself, it's the delivery. Imperial propaganda wants you picturing dramatic rooftop duels. The actual Venenum job is way pettier than that. They'll infiltrate a fortress and spend hours poisoning the upholstery of somebody's favorite reading chair. They'll paint a contact toxin onto the handle of a Chaos Lord's personal drinking goblet. They'll lace the actual ink some bureaucrat uses to sign decrees. It's genuinely one of the most sociopathically patient assassination methods in fiction. One operative might spend 3 years working the kitchen staff of a fortress, building trust, just to eventually get near a commander's morning coffee. Sometimes they don't even go for a quick kill. Sometimes they'll slip a slow-building heavy metal into someone's supplements and just wait. Watch, from a distance, over the course of a decade, as some terrifying warlord slowly loses his hair, his teeth, and eventually his mind. It's not really assassination at that point. It's an extremely elaborate, extremely patient act of pettiness. And the psychological fallout is worse than the poison. Once someone even suspects the Venenum's involved, their entire command structure collapses into paranoia. Walls don't help. Every meal turns into a gamble. Food tasters are useless against a bioweapon built specifically for one person's DNA. The target's basically dead the second the paranoia sets in. The poison stopping their heart is just paperwork at that point. Philosophically, it's the same lesson as the Vanus, just at the microscopic level instead of the digital one. You can build a fortress out of adamantium, surround it with 1,000,000 zealots, ward it with ancient psychic barriers. None of it matters if you accidentally inhale a slightly modified piece of pollen. Absolute power turns out to be a complete illusion the second you can get taken out by a drop of liquid smaller than a tear. Okay, this is genuinely my favourite part of this whole story, because it's where the Venenum's whole methodology collides with the most self-important type of villain the setting has to offer. Picture a Chaos Sorcerer of the Thousand Sons. 10,000 years old, spent his entire immortal life mastering reality-warping warp sorcery. He floats. He's wreathed in unnatural fire. His mind perceives multiple layers of time simultaneously. He's warded his sanctum against orbital bombardment, demonic incursion, and literal holy grey nights. This is a guy who fundamentally believes he can only be killed in some grand, poetic, metaphysical clash of cosmic forces. He's basically the final boss of a JRPG, and he knows it. Now imagine him mid-ritual, robes billowing, reality bending around him, the whole dramatic package, and he just starts violently coughing up blood. There's a genuinely absurd account, half mythologized at this point, of his final moments, reconstructed from fragments recovered by an inquisitorial team afterward. Sorcerer. Who dares assault me in the Imperium? Show yourself, coward. Sorcerer. I am warded against the Grey Knights, against demons, against the wrath of the false emperor himself. Cult servant. My lord, should I fetch a healer? Sorcerer. I require no healer. I require an enemy so that I may strike them down inglorious. Cult servant. My lord, you have been using that incense for several months now, and I did think it smelled different recently. Sorcerer. The incense. Cult servant. Yes, my lord. Sorcerer. The sacred incense. Cult servant. That one, yes, my lord. He never got his enemy. There was no golden grey knight to duel, no dramatic clash of powers. A Venenum operative had slipped into his supply chain months earlier and very slightly altered the chemical mix of the incense he burned in every single ritual. 10,000 years of arcane mastery, an entire career built on being an unkillable agent of an unknowable dark god, and he died the exact same way somebody dies from a badly ventilated candle. This is, genuinely, a theological insult to the actual chaos gods. They feed on huge dramatic emotion, rage, despair, ambition, the whole opera of it. The Venenum ruins the script completely. Nobody's writing an epic ballad about the guy who died of aggressive food poisoning. There's no glorious martyrdom in a toxic rash from a piece of parchment. The dark gods just have to sit there and watch their greatest champions go out looking like a bad Yelp review for a scented candle company. And it's even funnier for his bodyguards. Chaos Terminators are bred and armored to punch through tank hulls to protect their master, genuinely built to physically intercept anything trying to kill him. But you cannot parry a smell. You cannot shoot a toxin out of the air. These guys just have to stand there, fully armored, completely useless, watching their supposedly invincible warlord basically melt from the inside, and there is nothing in their entire arsenal that helps. Now let's talk about the Callidus Temple, because these guys are less about murder and more about pure, calculated social sabotage. Officially, the Callidus are shapeshifters. They take this brutal drug called polymorphine that lets them physically become anyone. Imperial propaganda loves showing them dramatically revealing their true form right before a kill. But that's not really the job. The actual murder is just the polite little period at the end of a much longer, much crueler sentence of destroying somebody's entire social life first. Here's a favorite example. A charismatic cult leader spends 30 years, carefully building a coalition. Planetary governors, pirate fleets, dozens of factions, all promised a piece of a grand unified rebellion against the Imperium. He calls a secret summit to finally lock it all in. A Callidus operative doesn't bomb the meeting. She kills the cult leader 2 days early, takes his exact face and voice, and just shows up to his own summit instead of him. And then she ruins it. Not with violence, with vibes. There's a reconstructed account of roughly how this goes, based on interrogations of the very confused survivors afterwards. Pirate Lord. My lord, as we discussed at the last gathering, my fleet stands ready to... Cult leader. And who exactly are you again? Pirate Lord. We've met 4 times. I command the Bloodsail Armada. Cult leader. Right, the small one with the ugly ships. Pirate Lord. The ships are not. Those ships have taken 3 Imperial cruisers. Cult leader. Sure. Anyway, did anyone else notice how nervous Lord Threx looks tonight? Genuinely, does anyone else find that suspicious? I do. Lord Threx. I am not nervous. I simply... Cult leader. That's exactly what someone nervous would say. Lord Threx. You asked me to gather the artillery codes personally. Cult leader. Did I? That doesn't sound like something I'd do. Within about 40 minutes of this, the entire room's descended into a screaming, paranoid mess. 30 years of carefully built alliances collapsing because their beloved leader suddenly seems to have forgotten everyone's name and is accusing his most loyal lieutenant of treason for no reason. Weapons come out. It turns into a full-blown massacre of each other. The Callidus operative quietly slips out the back before the first shots even fired, leaving behind a rebellion that just ate itself. The sheer indignity of it is the whole point. These guys expected to go down fighting space marines in some blaze of holy fury. Instead, their entire life's work got cancelled because their leader forgot their names and refused to validate a parking pass. Essentially, it gets pettier at scale too. A Callidus operative might infiltrate an Orc War disguised as a lowly Gretchen or a trusted mech boy, and instead of fighting the war boss directly, they just start being annoying on purpose. Misplace his favourite weapon. Start a rumour that the biggest knob called him a coward. Nudge the artillery targeting a couple degrees off so it hits their own supply lines by accident. Death by 1,000 infuriating little inconveniences until the entire horde turns on itself out of pure stress. And once an enemy realizes the Imperium's got shapeshifters running around, trust just evaporates. Permanently. A Chaos Warlord can't look at his most loyal lieutenant, or his wife, or his weird mutated pet without wondering if it's actually a flesh-masked Imperial assassin. The fortress stays standing. The mind inside it burns down instead. Okay, quick breather from the jokes, because this part's genuinely the most interesting piece of the whole thing. The Vindicare pulls a trigger, the Eversor smashes through a wall. Those are things the galaxy understands. Kinetic force, comprehensible violence, the kind of stuff entire religions get built around. The ecclesiarchy can write a rousing sermon about a space marine holding a doorway against 10,000 heretics. That's a story. That's mythology fuel. The Vanus, Venenum, and Callidus don't give the galaxy anything to work with. They don't defeat enemies. They engineer situations where enemies quietly defeat themselves, and there's no framework anywhere in Imperial doctrine for turning "died of a shipping error" into a legend. A Chaos Warlord who suffocates during his morning routine doesn't get martyred. His followers can't rally behind a body that just stopped breathing for no visible reason, no wound, no enemy in sight. A rebel governor whose entire alliance turned on each other over a catastrophically ruined dinner party doesn't leave behind an inspiring resistance story, just a pile of contradictory, embarrassed survivor testimonies that can't even agree on who threw the first punch. And that's exactly what makes these temples genuinely terrifying to the people who run the Imperium. You can counter an army with a bigger army, you can counter a sniper with better counter-intel. But how do you defend against an assassin whose weapon is a slightly wrong decimal point on a supply form? How do you even declare war on a temple whose biggest wins leave behind zero evidence a crime happened at all? You can't, honestly. And the High Lords of Terror know this better than anyone, because they're both the people pulling these strings and the people who could just as easily end up on the other end of them. They authorize the Vanus to quietly wreck their enemies' data networks, all while knowing, somewhere in the back of their minds, that exact same playbook could get turned on them tomorrow with zero warning. This whole invisible guillotine doesn't actually answer to anyone. It just has whoever's currently holding the keys, which gets at the actual deepest wound these temples inflict. It's not really on the body. It's on the story. They don't just end a life. They deny the person a death anyone will remember, a story worth passing down. And in a galaxy that runs entirely on mythology, on the same handful of legends about glory and sacrifice getting recycled for 10,000 years, getting erased from the story is a way worse fate than getting killed. The screaming martyrs of chaos get remembered for 10 millennia. The poisoned governor is a single line in a quarterly report. The hacked fleets, a weird anomaly in a corrupted archive somewhere nobody checks. The unraveled conspiracy is a rumor nobody can fully confirm. These temples don't remove people from the physical world so much as they remove them from memory entirely. And in a universe that runs on remembered sacrifice, being forgotten is basically the same as never existing. Hearken, ye who dare seek the names of the unremembered dead. There is no reliquary for them. No brass plaque, no golden effigy raised beneath the burning stars, no chapel bell tolled in their honor. For theirs was not a death, but an unmaking, a quiet unbinding of thread from the great and holy tapestry of the Imperium, so subtle that even the loom itself forgot the pattern had ever been woven. Somewhere, even now, a report is being filed upon dust-choked parchment, in a chamber no living soul shall ever enter twice. The cause of death, natural. The investigation, closed in 3 weeks' time, absent of suspects, absent of evidence, absent of the faintest whisper of foul design. The allies of the fallen shall gather and shall argue amongst themselves in the dark, and shall find no answer worth the argument. And in time, as all things fade beneath the weight of 10,000 years, they too shall cease their asking. The Officio Assassinorum shall not come forward to claim this work as their own. They never do, for theirs is not a blade that seeks glory, nor a name that seeks a song. Theirs is a silence so absolute, so perfectly rendered, that it becomes indistinguishable from the void itself. And it is written, in that place where no history is kept, that the silence is the signature.